Right now, the deeply integrated machinery of the entire global economy has abruptly ground to a violent physical halt. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive wave of airstrikes targeting military and nuclear facilities inside Iran. Iran immediately retaliated, launching swarms of drones and ballistic missiles directly at Israel and American military bases scattered across the region. The human toll quickly surpassed 5,600 casualties as the fighting bled across borders, pulling heavily armed proxy forces like Hezbollah and the Houthis into a rapidly expanding regional network of violence. This exchange of fire served as the ignition point for a global shockwave that is actively destabilizing the world's most critical supply routes. Military strategists call the current situation a frozen conflict. There is no full-scale all-out war, but there is no peace either. This constant, unresolved tension creates a geopolitical environment that is virtually impossible for global markets to navigate. Day to day, this looks like massive United States naval groups attempting to enforce maritime control, while unpredictable attacks continue to strike commercial shipping vessels throughout the Persian Gulf. This map of the Middle East shows the ultimate tactical consequence of those attacks: global shipping lanes terminating completely at the Strait of Hormuz, closing the world's most critical maritime artery. By choking off this single narrow stretch of water, the combatants have effectively taken the entire global supply chain hostage. This gauge visualizes the immediate physical consequence of that closure, an instant drop of 11.5% in global oil supply. Pulling that much physical volume out of the market overnight makes remaining barrels incredibly scarce, driving global crude prices into a vertical spike. For consumers, that crude spike translates to severe inflation at the pump, pushing everyday gasoline and diesel prices to levels many households can no longer afford. Meanwhile, the physical maritime blockade forces the remaining commercial cargo ships to take multi-week detours around the continent, multiplying transit costs and breaking just-in-time delivery networks. This energy drought has weaponized economics, starving Western nations of the fuel they need to operate and pushing their economies toward forced recessions. While the Middle East is frozen in a standoff, the effects are actively altering the battlefield thousands of miles away in Eastern Europe. With a massive crisis in the Gulf, Western intelligence and military hardware are stretched thin, creating a vacuum as resources are split to defend two separate fronts. At the exact same time, Russia is benefiting from the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The inflated global oil prices pump billions of extra dollars directly into its military budget. Facing a newly enriched adversary and divided Western support, Ukraine is now highly vulnerable to grinding, prolonged missile strikes on its critical energy infrastructure. These regional disputes have merged into a singular war grid, where the economic output of one front buys the ammunition for the other. This geopolitical grid eventually reaches down to the most basic level of human survival: agriculture. The math is brutal. When diesel prices soar, the heavy machinery required to plant, harvest, and transport food becomes too expensive to operate at scale. Simultaneously, those fractured shipping routes delay the delivery of crucial fertilizers, while the prolonged bombardment in Europe traps vital grain shipments meant for the developing world. The resulting drop in crop yields creates an immediate scarcity of staples, leading directly to food shortages and empty grocery shelves worldwide. The military standoff in the Middle East has created a physical shortage of calories for civilian populations, thousands of miles away from the nearest missile strike. The globe is now divided into entrenched blocks, pitting the United States and its allies against an increasingly coordinated network aligned with Iran and Russia. As long as the standoff in the Middle East remains frozen, the global economy is locked into a state of high inflation, restricted shipping, and resource scarcity. A missile strike in the Persian Gulf severs supply chains, funds foreign invasions, and removes food from tables half a world away.